Hey everyone. So I think we are finally ready to actually follow some guides. Let me just do some final checks. I think it won't be a big surprise that we'll start with NetworkChuck. In his tutorial, he is setting up the cluster on Raspberry Pis. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do that on some generic virtual machines I've set up yesterday. But what actually intrigues me about this tutorial is that he also sets up Rancher. And Rancher is a management tool for Kubernetes. So most of the tutorials are quite, I would say, not really useless, but incomplete because they end with, just installing the cluster management and worker nodes, and that basically gives you nothing. But with Rancher, I think there's a chance that we'll actually have a working Kubernetes cluster from this tutorial. So without further ado, I've only seen a part of this tutorial, so we'll see how it goes.
Okay, I went a little crazy in this video. Wait, what's that smell? Oh, I think it's ready. Come on, let's go. Yeah, it's done. Come on. Yeah.
Hey, thanks for the sub.
We're gonna take the slide. See y'all down there.
GTGBia, am I saying it right?
All right, come on. I don't want to burn it. Let's go. Oh.
Oh, and Voxy, thanks for the sub also.
Oh yeah. There it is. Oh, it smells so good. My fresh Raspberry Pis. This is my baby. 16 cores, 56 gigs of RAM. This is my Raspberry Pi supercomputer. Now, I want you to do this. Now, don't.
He has a pretty cool case for those Raspberry Pis, though, I have to say.
Don't worry, you don't need 8 Raspberry Pis like I have. All you need is really 1. But why? Because of this. We're gonna learn one of the most killer skills, most sought after skills in the IT industry right now, Kubernetes. We're gonna use Kubernetes to cluster together these 8 Pis, or maybe just your 1 Pi. And not only is doing this just freaking cool, you're also gonna learn a ton about Kubernetes along the way. I am playing Minecraft on a Raspberry Pi cluster. It doesn't get cooler than this, guys. And this would not be possible without the sponsors of this video, Rancher Labs and Boxbow. We're installing a version of Kubernetes called K3S on our Raspberry Pi.
That's pretty cool he got sponsored by Rancher and SUSE.
Rancher Labs actually created K3S. It's open source, lightweight, and amazing. We'll talk much more about it here in a bit. Also, Kubernetes is kind of hard. I relied heavily on the engineers at Boxbow to help me get this going. They held my hand and walked me through the blood, sweat, and tears of getting this set up, what not to do, what to do, and you know what? You're gonna reap the benefits of knowing exactly how to do this. So buckle your seatbelt, get ready. We're gonna cluster together these Raspberry Pis using Kubernetes. And not only that, I want to show you this amazing dashboard GUI configuration management tool called Rancher. Yeah, Rancher Labs made it. And it's a tool we can use to manage this cluster, and not just this one, clusters. And it's free and open source and amazing. Anyways, we're gonna walk through all that, yes. And by the way, Rancher Labs was recently acquired by SUSE. Ever heard of them? OpenSUSE Linux? Now, SUSE, not SUSE, I say it wrong a lot in this video, so I'm actually corrected by this guy right here.
It's SUSE, say SUSE.
They are a global leader in innovative, reliable, and enterprise-grade open source solutions, which makes sense why they acquired Rancher Labs, because Rancher Labs creates cool things like K3S. Oh, and also, how cool is this? Do you want one? I'm partnering with Rancher Labs and OpenSUSE, their parent company, to give away 3 of these guys. A Raspberry Pi with their custom Rancher Labs K3S 3D printed case. Now, how cool is this? So if you want one, they're actually giving away 3. Check it out, link below. So let's talk about what you're going to need for this project. First, a Raspberry Pi. You saw that coming, right? You can do this entire project with just 1 Raspberry Pi. But, if you want to have more fun, you might want more than 1, 2, 3, 8, depending on how crazy you want to be. So yeah, but at least 1. Now the cool part is that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, you need the typical Raspberry Pi.
I mean, I wouldn't recommend anyone buying Raspberry Pis in this day and age with those prices right now for any sort of project like that, unless they really, really have to, or the prices they have are really favorable.
Pi stuff. A power supply, a micro SD card, a micro SD card USB adapter, and you'll want at least 4 gigs of RAM, 8 to really have some fun. Now get this, that's pretty much all we need. You don't need a keyboard, a mouse, you don't need a monitor, because we're doing a headless install. We don't need a head, and it's super cool. I'll walk you through it. Now if you do want to go a bit crazy, like me, and do a legit cluster with 2, 3, 4, 8, check the description below. I've got a list of supplies you can pick up, like this case, and you'll need a switch and Ethernet cables and all kinds of stuff. Oh, almost forgot, the most important thing you need, coffee. Everything in IT requires coffee. NetworkChuck.coffee. Okay, here we go. I am so excited to build this with you, but first, I want to talk about what the junk we're actually doing. Because I know a lot of you see all these Raspberry Pis and hear the word cluster and go, I'm not really sure what that means. Let's talk about that. So first, yes, we are clustering these Pis together to make them one big, massive supercomputer, just a massive Pi. I love big Pis. And it is awesome, but how do we do that? Because you can't just glue them together. You can't bake them into one pan and make them one big pie, keeping with the pie analogy. So we need a way to cluster these Raspberry Pis together. How do we do that? One word, Kubernetes. What the junk is that? I'll explain it here in a moment, because it's kind of a big thing. But first, let me tell you what we're not doing with our Raspberry Pis, because there might be some confusion. We won't be making this into one big computer. I mean, we kind of are, but you won't be able to log into it and play like a crazy video game like Call of Duty and be able to use all the RAM and all the CPU cores that we're gonna have. No, that won't happen. These Raspberry Pis will still be their own separate machines. We're just finding a way to make them work together.
Yeah, you would need to have an interconnect for that to happen. I mean, to share the memory space in between all of them.
The key word here is orchestrate. Okay, buzzword. What exactly are we doing? I want you to change the way you think about a Raspberry Pi. Now, a lot of you may think of it as a desktop computer because you can use it like that. But for us right now, in our case, I want you to think of it as a server. Now, on a Raspberry Pi server, you might install things like a website, a Minecraft server, Pi-hole, which if you don't know what that is, got a video right here. And this little guy, he does do a great job, but he can only handle so much. He is a kind of a tiny computer. You overload this guy and he starts to sizzle. Can't take the heat. And it does get pretty hot. This is exactly where having more than one Raspberry Pi or having a cluster will come in handy. In a cluster, the Raspberry Pis are taken care of. We make sure they're not getting too stressed out. So here's what might happen. If that poor Pi was in a cluster, he'd be fine. You see, the cluster will auto-magically distribute the app so that no one Pi gets too stressed out. We might have Pi-hole on one Raspberry Pi, Minecraft on another, the web server on the other one. And not just that, maybe we want 3 copies of each. A web server on each Raspberry Pi, a Pi-hole, a Minecraft server. Then we can load balance, have some redundancy, and no one Raspberry Pi is getting too stressed out. That's the power of a cluster. Yes, he's so powerful. I can't wait to show you. And by the way this happens, it's magic. We simply say, hey, cluster, I want 3 Minecraft servers. Give it to me now. And the cluster just does it, auto-magically. But how? How's this magic happening? Kubernetes. He's the magic, he's the orchestration. Let's talk about it. But what is Kubernetes? That's kind of a big question. A question
Also, I just want to say that I want to hear him out about what he has to say about Kubernetes, and we will skip the Raspberry Pi image creation and stuff like that.
actually answered in this video right here. So I won't go too deep in this video, but I will tell you a bit about it. Just a few things here. First, Kubernetes is a container orchestrator. And what the junk does that mean? Let's start with containers, another pretty big topic. Again, we won't go too deep right here. If you want to learn more, video right here. But essentially a container is how we're going to get an app like a Minecraft server on our Raspberry Pi cluster. Now, typically when you install Minecraft server or any other application on a Raspberry Pi, you just use a package manager like apt and you install it. And all these apps are installed next to each other on the same computer, and that's fine, but that's not how it works with containers. You see, with containers, things are a bit more isolated. When we install an app like Minecraft, we first put it in its own container. That's why we call it containers, I guess. Its container is its own little room, its own little isolated spot where it's all by itself. It's happy and safe, has everything it needs to run. It doesn't bother any other app, another app gaming session, or maybe that's you now. You had your Doritos and you had your headphones and you were ready to go. No one bothered you, you didn't bother anybody else. It's kind of like that. So this Minecraft server is deployed to our Raspberry Pi or our cluster as a container. Same thing goes for a web server. And we'll put that web server container on that same Raspberry Pi, but notice they're in their own containers. They're kind of separate in their own rooms, not bothering each other. It's kind of like a virtual machine where each app is its own virtual machine in a way. Not exactly. Again, if you want to learn more, check it out, video up here somewhere. Now, running your apps inside containers has a lot of benefits, but one of the best ones ever is that it's wicked fast, like super fast. You'll see that here in a moment when we deploy a few. Now, I do need to say this so you understand this concept here. You don't need Kubernetes to run containers. In fact, you could run containers on one Raspberry Pi by itself using something like Docker. And that's cool, but when you want to do something even cooler, like having a bunch of Raspberry Pis clustered together, you'll want to use a thing like Kubernetes to orchestrate your containers. And you'll simply tell Kubernetes, hey, I want 3 Minecraft containers deployed to my cluster. And it will intelligently just go, okay, boom, Raspberry Pi 1, 2, 3. And it will do things like load balancing between those. It'll check up on them, making sure they're healthy. It might produce more Minecraft servers for you in case they start to get overloaded, which is called scaling up. Now again, there is a lot more to this, and it's amazing. Like when you go deep down the rabbit hole of learning Kubernetes, you'll get lost and you'll love it. You'll look up and it'll be
No. I mean, I'm pretty sure you'll hate it, but yeah.
like 4 a.m. You don't know where or how you got there. It's fun. So I encourage you to go check it out and dive deeper in that. But for now, let's talk about how the junk we get Kubernetes on our Raspberry Pis, on our cluster. And this is where it could get scary because installing Kubernetes is not easy. Because at its core, Kubernetes was meant for the cloud, deploying it in Linode or AWS or Azure. In fact, installing it up there is relatively easy. I demonstrated that in one of my Kubernetes videos. But when you want to install it locally, on-prem, on a Raspberry Pi, which is normally called installing it on bare metal, that's kind of a task. But thankfully, that's not the case for us. It's not. Actually, it'll be so kind of easy, like really fast and easy. And this is all thanks to a fantastic company called Rancher, which I mentioned earlier is the sponsor of this video. Rancher produces a ton of open source software that helps people like us do stuff like this. Now, we're not going to be installing this kind of Kubernetes, which is commonly abbreviated to K8S. You may have seen that in the wild. We're doing something that Rancher Labs came up with. It's called K3S. I don't know why it's called that. Let's ask them real quick.
K3S is lightweight Kubernetes. So we slimmed it down, and it was a play on the term K8s. It doesn't really mean anything.
Now K3S is Kubernetes, but it's not as bulky or heavy as the main Kubernetes, K8S. It's more lightweight, doesn't have all the fluff, it's quick, it's fast, and it's perfect for things like a Raspberry Pi, IoT devices, edge devices. That's why Rancher Labs made this. So we're just about ready to install it, but let me show you what it's gonna look like. When we install K3S Kubernetes on our Raspberry Pis, I mean, first you only need one Raspberry Pi. You don't need multiple like I have. But anyways, we'll install it on our first node, and that first node becomes the master. That's his role, that's what he does. He's the boss, he calls the shots. If you have other Raspberry Pis, they have to listen to him. They have to, kind of bow down to him. So when we do install K3S on our other Raspberry Pis, they are becoming what's called worker nodes. They just do what they're told, man. They will actually register with the master Pi, and they do everything he says. And again, it's wicked fast and super simple, trust me. I spent way too long trying to figure this out, and I went through all the pain for you, so it's gonna be very quick and easy for you. It doesn't mean it was for me, so you're welcome. So I hope you take advantage of this. I need some coffee. Anyways, one last thing, and this will be optional. Most of the configuration we're gonna do, like when we deploy our applications in their containers, it's gonna be done on the master right here. We'll log into him, we'll enter our commands via CLI. It's super nerdy, super fun, and that's all you'll need. Now, optionally, I'm gonna show you something else too. I'm gonna set up another server. Again, this is optional, you don't need to do this. And on that server, I'm going to install Rancher. Now, just to avoid confusion, Rancher Labs produced K3S. Rancher Labs also produces an open source application called Rancher. Rancher is kind of amazing. It's a GUI, a beautiful GUI that gives us a ton of tools to manage our Kubernetes cluster. So yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun digging into the CLI and typing away, but sometimes you want a visual representation of what you're doing on this cluster. Kind of get lost in the command line, right? Rancher will show you what's going on. You'll actually be able to do a ton of config from Rancher. And it has an API, you can manage multiple clusters so much. We'll cover more on that here in a bit. But now, enough theory, enough talking. Let's actually do this. So I hope you have your coffee, because you're gonna need some. It's fun, but you might wanna get some, because we're going in. We're going deep down the rabbit hole of Kubernetes on our Raspberry Pis, a cluster, or maybe just one, that's fine, because I forgot to mention this. If you have just one Raspberry Pi, it will become the master and a worker node. It'll have to tell itself what to do, kind of like Schmeagle.
Not listening. Not listening.
But anyways, yeah.
I've never heard anybody before pronounced Smeagol, right? Or like Schmeagle.
Let's do this. Let's get started right now. Okay, step one, we gotta prep our Pi. Gotta bake him, or bake our Pis. Now again, this will be headless. No keyboard, no mouse, no monitor. You're fine, you're good.
Okay, I will skip around here a bit because practically I've seen this part. He basically only configures the Raspbian installation with some pre-made config that automatically sets different IP addresses.
him right now. I'll use the command SSH, and this will be the same on every platform. PI or pi, the default username, and then the IP address that I set for him. 10.7.1.60. And here we go. Woohoo, it works. Yes, I'll accept that fingerprint. Password will be Raspberry by default. RASPBERY. Yeah, we're in. Now, how cool was that? A headless setup for a Raspberry Pi. You can't beat that. Especially if you have a lot to configure. I'm gonna do those here in a moment, but first let's do this. We wanna do everything as the root user. So to do that, we gotta become the root user. And we'll use this command, sudo su space dash. Now, if you wanna know more about what that means and what it does, I got a video right here or over here.
It means to become a root user and load all of the environmentals variables.
Here, yes, right here, that you can check out. Anyways, here we go, we're becoming root. I am root. Now there's one more prep thing we have to do before we can start installing Kubernetes or K3S. Again, I've got a link below where you can copy all this delicious documentation. We're going to enable IP tables, legacy IP tables. It's what K3S is gonna use. So go ahead and paste that and then do a reboot. R-E-B-O-O-T, reboot.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so first let's verify. I think even our version of Debian, which is 12, etc, yep, uses IP tables still. Oh boy, it's using NF tables? Oh, so I actually kind of forgot. Oh boy, so, I mean, we can just install. I mean, do I want to like make my life a bit harder? No, I think we can just because basically you can have IP tables and NF tables coexist. You can also have the IP tables NFT package that tries to translate the rules to the NFT rules. Okay, but for the purpose of this tutorial, actually, yeah, let's just try switching back to IP tables. Okay. Okay. Okay, and now let's do a sanitary reboot to verify it will actually boot up again and I will be able to log in. Okay, we're back in.
And he's rebooting. Now that's the prep work. When he comes back up,
Also, hey, Jutujubdia. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it weirdly.
he's ready to have Kubernetes K3S installed on him. Now what I'm going to do right now is do that times 8. I'm gonna go and do it all again. I'm not gonna make you wait, but for me it's gonna be a while, so I'll see you in probably an hour, maybe longer, I don't know. So if you get a close.
Yeah, okay, so he's provisioning all of that, and I'm also going to do that on my other two worker nodes. So let me just quickly jump to them. I can do it from this one. Jesus, this mirror is so slow. God damn. Okay. Okay, so I think this one is done. So let's reboot that worker node. And our other worker node had IP 31. Okay. Okay, and now remove NF tables. Okay.
Cluster like me, go ahead and configure your cluster now. Okay. Whew. Done. And isn't it beautiful? Oh my gosh. It's all my favorite thing is seeing link lights all arranged uniform and blinking like Christmas. It's Christmas. I love it. Oh, anyways, how is yours looking? If it was just one, you were done a long time ago, or moments ago because I edited this. However, if you're like me, it took a bit. Anyways, we're here. Coffee, let's go. Step 2, time to configure Kubernetes or K3s on our Raspberry Pi cluster. And we're gonna start with our master, the first Raspberry Pi, and if you're using only one Raspberry Pi, that's it. So let's do it. The first thing we'll do is launch our terminal or command prompt or whatever you're using. Come on, work for me. There we go. And we're gonna SSH into our first node. SSH pi at your IP address, 10.7.1.60 for me, Raspberry. And then I'll become root, sudo su dash, I am root. Now to install Kubernetes K3s, it's gonna be one simple command. That's really all it is. I'm telling you, it's crazy. So again, link below, I've got a guide for this. All you gotta do is copy and paste into this terminal right now. So here we go. Paste. That's all it is.
Okay.
And in case you're wondering what's happening here, curl is going out and downloading this script, and the magic is happening in the script.
I mean, I don't really like that method of installing anything, but for the sake of the tutorial, let's just roll with it.
Script will install K3s. And then over here, we're adding a little bit of configuration. This will allow us to import the sucker into Rancher, which I'm gonna do because it's awesome and you should do it too. But even if you aren't, leaving that config in there is no big deal. I'm gonna hit enter, and it's just gonna do its thing, man.
Let's just pause it so I can finish sh minus s. Okay.
Man, coffee break. I'm excited. Whew. It's almost done, actually. I mean, coffee break, coffee sip. That's all we have time for. And that's it. It's done. It's done. Kubernetes or K3s is installed. Now, what do we do with that? I'll show you. Now again, I'll tell you this. Installing Kubernetes normally is an entire task. It involves multi-node clusters and all. It's crazy. But for K3s, this is like we're done. There's a tool we're gonna use. It's called kubectl or kubectl. We'll be using this a lot, so I want you to know it, memorize it. Become best friends. kubectl. This is how we do everything. So, yeah.
I mean, actually, I wonder what sort of container executor do we have now with this install script? Because it's not Docker. It's not Cryo, I think. I wonder what our executor is.
That's all I have to say about that. Let's try something real quick. To verify everything looks cool, let's do kubectl get nodes. Cool. So what was that? Well, first we use our kubectl command to get nodes. Now a node is any of these guys right here. It's any server or virtual machine, and in our case, any Raspberry Pi that is participating in K3s. Your master is a node. So I want to get all the nodes in my current cluster right now. There's only one, and it tells us his role. He's the control plane, and he's the master. Now, I'm not going to cover all the roles in Kubernetes, because that's not important right now. We just want to get ready and have fun, right? But if you want to learn more, again, I have a video on that. Now, if you only have one Raspberry Pi, then you're done. But if you want to add more, let's do this. Adding another is very similar to installing it on the master, but we need one thing from the master to make things happen. We need his token. Again, a command will be below, and just copy and paste this command in there. Cat, and then wherever this command token is. Or, I don't know why I said command token, just the token. There we go. This token right here, what we catted out, we're going to use that to register the rest of our nodes to the cluster, our worker nodes.
Okay, so let me just open a new window. It will be faster this way. So I already have worker terminal ready. Okay.
So I'm going to add the next guy here. Let's do this. Open up a new command prompt or terminal. SSH pi at my next guy. 61 Raspberry. Become the root. Now again, same story as before. I've got a command below in the description. So as
Okay, so I think I might start okay, and this will be probably our token.
As you can see, pretty much same story as last time. We're going to be downloading the script to install K3s, Kubernetes. But we're going to pass in some variables to make it become a worker node and register with our master. First thing is the token. The token is like, how do we play with this master here? Like an arcade game. We're going to put the little token in, and let's go find that token. It was in our master terminal. We catted it out. There it is. I'm going to copy that sucker and put it right between these parentheses right here. Bam. Next will be our K3s URL. This will be the IP address of your master. Now for me, it was the guy I just got my token from. So I'm going to put that in here right between, or right after https://. So it'll be 10.7.1.60. And it will be port 6443. If you're on a local network, you don't have to worry about access and firewalls unless you're doing something crazy. And then one last parameter we want to throw in there, and that's the K3s node name. It does not like it when you have a bunch of nodes all with the same name, which by default, Raspberry Pi, all of them are called Raspberry Pi. So go ahead and change it for each node you add to your cluster. I'm going to name this guy Raspa2. Raspa2. Okay, and that's pretty much it. I'm going to take all this command, copy it, go to my worker node here, paste, and let the magic happen. Coffee break. Now that was freaking fast. Isn't that awesome? Now, what do we do now? How do we know what's happening? How do we know what's happening? Let's get back to the master node. Now, one thing you must know
Okay, yeah, also done on my end.
is that the kubectl command that we use in the master, you cannot use in the worker nodes. It's not installed. Everything is meant to happen on the master, so let's get back to the master. Let's use that same command we used earlier, kubectl get nodes, and let's see what we find out. Whoa. It's almost ready. So right now, I can see I've got myself, Mr. Master, but then there's my worker showing up and ready to work. He's so good, but he's not ready yet. Give him some time, no worries. If I run that command once more, he should be ready. He's ready. He's ready to work. I'm here, punching in, boss. Little whippersnapper, so young, only 27 seconds old. Got grandpa here, 8 minutes. Anyways, so yeah, that was that. I mean, we got our master, we got our worker node. That's a cluster, man. And again, if you only have 2 nodes, then you're done. I have 8 total nodes in my cluster, so I'm gonna do that real quick. I'm not gonna make you wait. Okay, I'm done. Y'all ready for this?
Yeah, okay, cool. So I have one more node, so let's do that one real quick. So yeah, not really need to change anything else. it's really cool that, I mean, I don't really, like I said, I don't like this method of provisioning, but it's really cool that it basically detects what kind of system are you on. Okay. Cool. I think we have, yep, all of them ready.
This, here we go. kubectl get nodes. Boom! Look at all those. In a matter of moments, I clustered all these suckers. This whole stack right here. Whew! Love it. I get chills. Maybe it's just the coffee. I don't know. Either way, I'm happy. Now, before we start playing with our clusters, I do want to get Rancher set up. Again, this is optional, but I do recommend it because you get a fun way to look at your cluster and play with it, configure it, and all kinds of stuff. And it's free, open source. Anyways, to install Rancher, you will need a virtual machine. Another virtual machine apart from what you have here with your Raspberry Pis. Now,
Okay, so now I have to turbo quick set up another VM. Okay, so I can't really show you this, but I'll show you the installation process again quick. I basically have a Proxmox cluster. But also last time I tried to provision a Rancher was basically on the cluster itself. So it was kind of cumbersome because first of all you needed to have a working cluster, and after that you needed to have, you needed to provision the Rancher itself. So let me just at least get started on the VM creation. Okay. And I should be able now to show you that window. Yep, cool. Never graphical install. Not for me at least. Okay, so quickly. Basically, I'm only selecting English as my language, and everything else I'm setting to Polish, so my date, time, and keyboard layout matches. Oh yeah, now I'll have to specify manual IPv4. Manually. Since this is a management, let's give it some low IP. Gateway, some generic DNS. Okay. Actually, it's not on Kubernetes, so just Rancher will do. Yeah, okay, now super quickly partitioning. I mean, I've done this so many times that it's basically auto movement at this point. Okay, so while it's installing the base system,
I do already have a virtual machine set up, ready to go. As far as what type of virtual machine, you'll want to do Ubuntu 1804 or version 1804. And you'll want at least 4 gigs of RAM to make the sucker work.
we'll try to go with Debian because I hate Ubuntu, but we'll see. And basically installing anything on 18.04 It's so legacy.
And again, if you don't want to do this, go ahead and skip ahead. I got timestamps, but I want to do this real quick. I'm going to log into my server here. Open up a terminal, SSH into that sucker, become root. Now, one thing we have to do before we install Rancher is set up a configuration file. So I'll start with doing this. I'm going to create a directory. The command will be mkdir for make directory, and it'll be /Rancher. And then we'll make one more directory after.
Okay. Okay, let's choose some different mirror this time. I wonder if he'll also use the auto-configuring script for Rancher this time. Okay, come on, I just want to select the software so it actually installs. No survey. We only want the base tools and SSH server. And since this will be done in a minute, okay, I can already prepare the SSH command. Yes, please. By the way, this is just a basic legacy boot, MBR, blah blah blah, stuff like that. Just out of the box Debian.
After that, it'll be RKE2, and then we'll CD into that directory. Here, I'll create my file.
Okay, so okay, I guess I have to wait a second. Yep, reboot. Cool. So I think now I can switch back to the terminal. And I can actually SSH. Oh yeah, and since I had to, I'm not member of a sudo group yet. Apt update. Apt install curl sudo vim htop GNU PG. User mod. Cool, now I have to relog. And now I have sudo working. Cool. Okay, so let's get back to the main point. Make directory, etc, rancher, and we can actually, you know, be a little more pro at this by adding -p and then rk e2. Hooray.
config.yaml. So create a blank file with this. And just a couple things here. First, I'll say token, colon, space, and then a shared secret. It can be anything. Like My Little Pony. Hit enter, and then type in TLS.
My Little Pony. Okay, my secret will be Asuka, best girl, big booty. Okay.
Dash san, colon. Go and drop down after that. Couple spaces, hit a tick right under the S, space, and then put in the IP address of your server here, the server we're working with right now. This will be your fixed registration address, and that's pretty much it. Control X, yes, to save, and then enter to get out of there and save the file. That's it. And just as before, the commands will be in the description below. It's very simple, a very simple script that'll run and install Rancher for us.
Okay. Curl SFL. By the way, like I said, I don't like this method, but especially if you're watching this, avoid executing bash scripts from the web, especially as root. Right? I know this is like a favorite method of developers to provision stuff, but goddamn, it's so dumbed down.
Right now, here we go. Little coffee break. Now let's verify it was installed. We'll use the command rancher d or ranchered, do dash dash help after this, and we should see something like Rancher Kubernetes Engine 2.
Okay, I don't have anything.
Verify it was installed. We'll use the command rancher
Rancher D. Yeah. Yes,
d
no?
or ranchered, do dash dash help after.
Okay. I missed the D. Yeah, okay. Now, actually works.
After this, and we should see something like Rancher Kubernetes Engine 2. Cool, we're solid. So it is installed. Now all we have to do is enable the service and start it. So we'll use system ctl, that's our command. So we use to start, stop, restart services on Linux. We'll do enable ranchered dash server.service. Cool, it's enabled. I'm gonna do a up arrow and then change the enable to start. So we start the
Yeah, basically if you add dash dash now to enable, it enables and starts the service.
service. And boom. Now it could take a bit, so we can use this command to monitor what's going on. I'm just gonna paste this command in here, journal, ctl, blah, blah. It's gonna look at the log.
Yeah, journal ctl eu rancher d server and follow.
And see what's going on. So here we go. And it's doing stuff. Now, as soon as you stop seeing messages that say, hey, we're waiting for stuff, waiting for our RBAC role to be created, as soon as that's done, you're solid. So quick coffee break. Now, fun note, the reason it might be taking a bit is because it's also setting up a Kubernetes cluster on that device, or on that VM. So what it's doing is it sets up a Kubernetes cluster and it installs Rancher, or more specifically Rancher D, on top of that Kubernetes cluster. So if you're doing this, if you're installing Rancher and we have our Raspberry Pis, we end up having two separate clusters, which is pretty cool. Okay, mine is done. When you see something like this, node synced successfully.
Jesus, I mean, just, you know, getting Kubernetes to launch your silly web application, basically a website, right? That talks to the other HTTP endpoints, and you need a Kubernetes for that. I mean, and it's also, I think, written in Golang. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but if it's written in Golang, then why do you even need a container for this? But sadly, this is how it's done. Okay, so yeah, cool. We also have everything done.
We're pretty good. So I'm gonna hit Control C to stop that logging nonsense. Come on, stop it. There we go. Now one last thing we gotta do is reset our admin password with this command. Ranchered reset dash admin.
Okay, one more thing I wanted to try. Yeah, sorry, I just need to click one thing. Let me try. Okay, this, and this. Just one little side experiment. Okay, sorry, we can proceed.
Let's see what happens here. And boom, there we go. Gave us a couple things real quick. First, it tells us the URL that we can access Rancher at and with the appropriate port. Then it gave us a username and password. Let's go ahead and...
Okay, it's not ready yet. Rancher D reset dash admin. Cluster and Rancher are not ready. I mean, we are listening on a shitload of ports, so I mean, we have a lot of services provisioned already. Are we not like starved for resources? I think we still have some RAM. I mean, we have a lot of RAM available, basically. Maybe it actually is. It is just a matter of a minute or two more. Yeah, let's just give it a minute more. I mean, I would love if there was like some other tool to actually check what the hell is going on. Because as we can see, basically logs have stopped. Is it also like IP tables dependent? Maybe. I mean, if it's bootstrapping, hold that Kubernetes cluster underneath. Okay, and let's reboot. Maybe this time, maybe it lacked some natural. At this point, it might also take a while to shut down. Let me see at my hypervisor. Yeah, it's waiting to actually stop all of the containers that it started. If it takes like more than 30 more seconds, that I will just kill the VM. Okay, so it rebooted. Okay. Let's go to sudo and see. Okay, so first from the curiosity, let's see the IP table rules. Yep, we have some rules and in the NAT. There's a shit ton of rules on the NAT. Okay, so it probably also lacked the IP tables. So can we now execute that reset admin? Okay, maybe after reboot it's also still waiting for the maybe it's also still waiting for some other containers to spin up. Okay, let me actually Google that. Do we have the kubectl command? No, we don't have that. Oh, okay, so it actually just needed a few more minutes to cook. Okay. Okay, so I guess I also have to show you the okay, so give me a second. I have to figure out how to share the Rancher window with you also. I mean, my OBS scene is just full of shit at this moment. Window capture, Rancher. Okay. There's so much bullshit on the screen. Okay. Pum. Okay, let me scale this all the way. Okay. Okay, Chuck, back to you.
Access it real quick. Oh boy, here we go. So the username was admin, and then that password it gave us. Just gonna snag that, paste that in there. It's gonna ask me to reset that password.
Okay, let's do that. Admin. And I already have that copied. Or not? What the fuck? Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure, we are okay with IP-based URL. No, I don't want any anonymous stuff.
Which I will do right now.
Ah, funny thing, it didn't ask me to reset the password.
Now this is important. Make sure you have I want to create or manage multiple clusters selected. Sometimes you only want to manage one cluster, and I get that, but we don't want that. We're going to be using the built-in cluster on Rancher and our Raspberry Pi cluster, which we'll import here in a moment. Anyways, it's already selected. I'm going to agree to all terms blindly like I always do and click on continue. There's my server URL. I'm good. I'll click on save, and we're in. So right here from the dashboard.
So do I have maybe this within the settings? No, I think if it didn't ask me for those options at the beginning, it won't matter.
we can see that we already have a Kubernetes cluster. It's the one that was pre-installed. Now we want to add our Raspberry Pi cluster. Let's do that right now. So as you might expect, to add a cluster, we're going to click on Add Cluster over here on the right. Go ahead and click on that. Now, something to note, look at all these options, which is freaking cool. You can import a ton of clusters, especially from cloud providers like Linode, DigitalOcean, Azure, Amazon. Now for us, we're doing bare
Yeah, please sponsor me.
metal, and we're doing something weird. It's going to be other. We are the others. So we're going to click on Other Cluster. We're going to name it. You can name it whatever you want. It's not important to whatever you did here. I'm in a Harry Potter mood right now, so I'm going to name mine Hogwarts.
I mean, I will name my sys Kubernetes because my department abbreviation name is sys.
And click on Create.
1.
That's simple. I mean, it's
Okay, he just clicks create, but let's see. Member roles, labels, advanced options, environment variables. Okay, so this is only that.
pretty cool. Now the next two commands are either or. This first one here is if you are using secure certificates. We're going to skip right on ahead to this one right here because our clusters are insecure.
Yeah, I mean, if we are like working within an internal network, it doesn't really matter as much.
It's not a verified SSL, whatever.
No,
I'm going to copy
node.
that command, jump back into my cluster, my master here, and
Yep.
paste. And that's pretty much it. Go ahead and hit enter. Now if you see that, ignore it. Just try it again.
Huh, interesting.
And hit up arrow, enter. There you go.
Okay, that's an interesting bit. So you have to... It actually worked. So like in a bad adventure game, sometimes you have to try and use the item more than once.
He ignored me the first time. You sometimes have to tell him twice. He's hard-headed. Anyways, now that's happening right now. It's going to join. But we have to do one thing on Rancher D to make sure things work the way we want them to. So getting back to Rancher, I'm going to click on Done. Notice my Hogwarts cluster is here, but it's in a pending...
Oh, sorry, I didn't show you this in the OBS. Oh my... Yeah, basically, the same thing happened to me. Yeah, so this is my first use of the command, and I also have the error. And second time, it actually did something. Yeah, we can see kube server API created, cattle system created, blah blah blah, agent created. Yeah, and we are back at the console. So let's get back to. Okay, it also asks me to. Yeah, log back again. Interesting.
status, and I have 0 nodes right now. That's not true. I've got 8 nodes. Let's prove them wrong. So there is one thing we have to do special for Raspberry Pi. Now, if you don't know this already, Raspberry Pi is based on the ARM architecture. A lot of edge IoT devices are. So we have to make sure that when he pulls down the Rancher stuff, it's going to be the ARM stuff. ARM. So let's go do that. We're going to click on the little dots over here next to our cluster. We're going to click on View in API. Go ahead and click on that.
I mean, I guess we don't have to do this, but it seems to be taking its sweet time to add my cluster. Okay, let's just go and do this with him
Here
to
we're going to
verify.
change one thing. Go ahead and click on Edit, and right here, the Agent Image Override. We're going to tell him, hey, don't download the standard image. We want you to change it up. Again, same story as last time. I'm going to paste that in there from the commands below. This is a container image, and at the end it tells us it's going to be the ARM64 version of it. So we're going to scroll down to the bottom here, all the way down, click on Show Request. Looks good. Scroll down to the bottom once more and click on Send Request. You should get a 200 response saying, yup, that's good. And we're golden. So go ahead and click on Close. You can close this window. And ha! It's already done. Yes! Ha! So here I have my cluster, Hogwarts.
Okay. So was this like editing cut or because mine is not done yet. I don't see any errors. So kubectl get pods, get namespaces. Yeah, we have the cattle system. Oh, I think I know what might be happening. Basically, we might not have any roles assigned to our nodes, but at this point, I don't think this should matter. Cluster is pending until the API is ready. Okay, so maybe what he has done was just
On close there from the commands below. This is a
maybe he basically applied this API.
container image, and at the end it tells us it's going to be the ARM64 version of it. So we're going to scroll down to the bottom here, all the way down, click on show request, looks good, scroll down to the bottom once more and click on send.
Yeah, so let's do the very same thing, but let's not change anything. Show request and send request. Yep, and we have 200 also. Cool. Close. So this is it.
Request. You should get a 200 response saying, yup, that's good. And we're golden. So go ahead and click on close. You can close this window. And, ha! It's already done. Yes! Ha!
Okay. Yeah, our is still not done. And I wonder why.
So here I have my cluster, Hogwarts. I've got my 8 nodes. Now, this is not a fun view. It's not a fun view. There's a different view we can go to. Let's go to Explorer. Go ahead and click on that. Explore.
Hey Chuck, I'm really happy that it worked for you, but my man, it's not really working right now. And also I cannot click anything. Okay, I can. The cluster is pending until the API is ready. Okay, so what do I have to do to make the API ready? Because I basically done that. I want to import Google. I'm not importing Google. I mean, what also may have happened is that, you know, the Chuck's tutorial is 2 years old, and maybe they are now forcing everything to be quote unquote secure and, you know, have valid certificates, or at least have distributed certificate authorities, so even the self-signed certificates are accepted. But I mean, this is the current version of Rancher, and also suggests you use the insecure, and it only basically tells you the insecure is for the curl. Okay, huh. I mean, does it really need this much time? Oh, maybe. Okay, so if we add cluster, we have other. We do not have like K3S or something like that. We have the big providers, we have the small fry stuff, and we have other cluster, right? So this is nothing new. There's not really, I mean, you can also check the worker nodes, but... Huh. They're not responding. You cannot enter anything. I mean, are they under that much load? Let me check real quick. I'll check this in the hypervisor. No, they're using less than a gig of RAM and basically do nothing. I mean, what I think might be the case is that they have no role assigned. But ideally, I would like to do everything like that from the ranchers. Huh. I mean, we have the nodes, we have the namespace, the cattle system, we have pods and all namespaces. Ah. Okay, so we have some sort of crash loop, and this is probably why it's not working. Is it because we do not have any sort of networking backend? Didn't the small K3S come with some sort of networking backend? Okay, so how do you check the logs? Check pod logs, and I'm googling that because I don't really know how to do that from memory. Okay, is it just kubectl logs cattle system? Yeah, it's not finding that. Yeah, and it also doesn't have the all namespaces flag. It probably has namespace cattle system. And it also might not be cattle system, but just cattle. Cattle cluster agent, sorry. Okay, so before that, kubectl get pods all namespaces. Okay, so first our namespace is cattle system. So let's just get pods from namespace cattle system. Cool. And do I have to use the ugly name? Kubectl logs namespace cattle system. Hooray, okay, so clear the screen and oh, did I skip a part of the video where I actually somehow share my secret? Should it not be within the join string? Okay. Huh. Okay. So first of all, let me do the very adult thing to do and Google that. Because everything works but the secret. So there is some sort of there is something on the GitHub page. Okay, so there is one suggested fix, and it's telling me to go to etc Kubernetes. Oh, I don't even have etc Kubernetes. Do I have maybe here as hidden? Kube, cache. Huh. Okay, so maybe let's try and find that file that's being suggested in the GitHub thread. Yeah, it was supposed to be just a quick and simple tutorial, right? It's actually kind of sad that we are using everything from the Rancher Corporation, even the K3S, and it's not really working out of the box, and it's having some issues that I would say are not trivial to fix. Okay, let's try another fix suggested. Jesus, I mean, it's making my head spin. I mean, the GitHub says that it's basically not having the secret is not getting deployed. It's so fucking stupid. Um, I mean, if I didn't like, you know, had Google, how am I supposed to know all of this stuff? How am I supposed to find all of this stuff? Hey, Loyjoy. I mean, as you can see, I'm pretty much stuck. Some, it's, you know, and the GitHub fix is also like, you know, I had to change something. You might not have to change something. I mean, screw you, Rancher. You were supposed to work out of the box. Hmm. Yeah, namespace, cattle system. Yeah, right. Okay, so we have verified that. Annotations, account name cattle. Do we have, is this the secret I was passing on, I was writing in the YAML file on the Rancher master node? Also, they are also suggesting that this is actually not a standalone file, and I have to download the whole manifest. Oh man, I mean, it's not like you have to understand, like I also have to, you know, understand all of this, because as much as I am working, you know, I've worked in IT for at least almost 10 years now. The Kubernetes is a mystery box. And you know, you might get lucky setting up it from one tutorial, but from the second one, you will like set up different part of the Kubernetes, but other part will not work. Stuff like that. I mean, Kubernetes is magic. Okay. So basically they are saying to get this. I know you're not seeing everything, but switching this is cumbersome. Yes, it's not trusted. Screw you. Does let's just save it to our rancher. XDYAML. Okay, and they're saying also it's secret. Okay, so we in this master file we only have 2 secrets. So let's try to apply this. Also, one little thing, man. One little thing, man. If you are new to Linux and this is your first time with Linux, like starting with Kubernetes is a terrible thing to do. But good luck and Godspeed to you, man. Okay, and they also say to add this. Okay, let's try. kubectl apply file rancher xd.yaml. Error converting YAML. Did I? Oh yeah. It's crucial to have 3 of those. Okay, so we have some things unchanged. Okay. And we have those configured. Okay, let's give it a minute. What is Kubernetes? Basically, it's a management tool for containers. If you want to have a fleet of containers, then you want to use Kubernetes. And if you want to ask what's a container, it's sort of like virtual machine, but it's not a virtual machine if we want to get technical. I think we still might be having the case of crash loop. So let's check out the logs. kubectl. I also want to verify that this is the same pod and container. Is it the same? Yeah, it is the same. Okay, it's using the UTC time. I was wondering why it's off by 2 hours. 33, so like 2 minutes ago. Cattle system cattle CA token. Okay, so maybe it's not rancher token, it's CA token. Can it be this this dumb? I don't think it will be this easy. Yeah, and as I could expect, it's not. I mean, I am kind of like, you know, blindly guessing because I have no idea how to actually fix this. I mean, if I don't get it working within like the next 20 minutes, I have to go to a gym and I either hop back later or finish or find a solution and come back tomorrow, but it's so weird. It's so weird that it's not working out of the box when it's literally everything done. And I'm not blaming Chuck, I'm more like blaming the rancher company. Unless the Chuck's tutorial is so outdated at this point that they've changed something that basically makes it useless. Okay, so first, what else can I do? Yeah, well, I mean, for me, it's like, you know, 5:30 p.m. So it's not like I'm that tired. I may sound tired and, you know, and bored, but sadly, this is just how I sound in English. One thing that I can do is I can, instead of apply, I can delete. I can delete this. I can make this back to how it was. Delete again. Cool. Now that we have deleted this, can we actually try maybe deploying it? Okay, sorry, but not delete, but apply. Okay, so it says it's configured, but the GUI still says it's pending. Okay, so I've basically deleted all the deployment and I'm doing it again and it's still pending. Okay, so maybe let me do some more Googling. Okay, so another suggestion I can see in the GitHub is to, okay, so before I delete this, one more thing. Okay, it's still pending. So let's delete this. And let's delete the things we have added. And the suggestion I've seen was to add them at the beginning. And maybe not at the very, very beginning. Name cattle system. Okay, so basically what they're saying is to secret name cattle token. Okay, and now let's see. Get pods, cattle system. And again, we are having crash loop. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same error. Okay, so I kind of didn't expect that, but I'll have to figure this out, possibly off stream, and I'll either get back to you later today, like in an hour or two, or tomorrow, and I probably have it fixed by then. I mean, like the Chuck said, you don't really need the rancher setup for everything to work, but for me, this is the main selling point of this tutorial, like to have everything managed by rancher. So I really want to have that figured out. Okay, so I'm ending the stream for now, and I hope I'll see you later. So bye bye.